Think you know prisons? Not even close. Behind those steel doors is a world where punishment turns into profit, and survival feels like a full-time hustle. Today, we're ripping the mask off the US prison system. A place where inmates pay to use the bathroom, fight wildfires for pennies, and serve sentences that would shock the rest of the world. This isn't just trivia. This is the dark underbelly they don't want you to see. Ready? Let's tear it open. 1. Picture this. You're in pain, you finally get taken to a doctor, and you're chained to the bed like a medieval prisoner. Yep, in many US prisons, inmates are shackled during medical visits. Need surgery? Enjoy it with the full accessory set of wrist and ankle cuffs. It's like healthcare meets horror show. Imagine trying to explain your symptoms to the doctor while a guard's hovering over you like you're Hannibal Lecter. We call it medical care, but it's really just damage control with extra humiliation. And people wonder why inmates don't trust the system. Maybe because the system treats them like walking crime scenes, even when they're just trying to survive. 2. You know what's scarier than a horror movie? A prison official having the power to throw you into a supermax prison. The kind where you spend 23 hours a day alone in a concrete box, without a trial. One person signs a paper and boom, you're basically buried alive, but with meal breaks. No lawyer, no judge, no appeal. It's like winning the world's worst lottery where the prize is isolation so extreme, even your own shadow gets lonely. Forget court. This is punishment on the trust me, bro system. And we call this the land of due process? Yeah, tell that to the guy staring at 4 concrete walls. 3. Getting out of prison sounds like freedom, right? Think again. About 60% of former inmates are unemployed a year after release, thanks to background checks that practically scream, "Do not hire." Imagine trying to rebuild your life when even flipping burgers is off limits. No job, no home, no chance. It's like being tossed into a game of Monopoly where all you get is the go-to-jail card. The system loves to talk about second chances, but let's be real. When the only offer on the table is welcome back to prison, it's no wonder that revolving door spins like a Vegas slot machine. Jackpot, anyone? 4. Here's a cheerful fact. In some prisons, suicide is the leading cause of death. Let that sink in. Isolation, hopelessness, zero mental health care. It's like the perfect storm for a psychological collapse. And sure, prisons are supposed to rehabilitate, but too often they just grind people down until there's nothing left. Ever tried sitting alone in a room with nothing but your thoughts for 23 hours a day? Add to that constant noise, fear, and no way out, and you get why people break. But hey, at least the taxpayers save money on therapy, right? Dark joke. But sadly, not far from the truth. 5. More than half of US inmates never finished high school, and here's the punchline. We keep cutting prison education programs. No diploma, no job skills, no shot at staying out of trouble. It's like handing someone a parachute without a ripcord. Want to reduce crime? Give people something other than survival mode to live for. But nah. Why invest in GED classes when you can spend that money on more cells, more guards, and more razor wire? It's almost like we're running a factory for failure. Honestly, if ignorance were a crime, some policymakers would be doing life. 6. Here's one for your sense of justice. In the US, if a parent goes to prison and their child lands in foster care for over 15 months, the state can permanently strip away parental rights. And it doesn't even have to be some violent offense. You could be locked up for a minor, non-violent crime, and boom, you lose your kid forever. I mean, seriously? We're talking about families ripped apart by a clock, not by choice. Imagine serving your time, paying your dues, and coming home, to find your own child legally gone. And no, the welcome home banner does not come with a parenting reset button. 7. Picture working your tail off making furniture, pressing license plates, or, get this, fighting wildfires for 12 cents an hour. That's prison labor in the US. Inmates pick up valuable skills, sure, but here's the kicker. Once they're out, that criminal record locks them out of most jobs anyway. So they end up back in the only system that'll hire them, prison. It's like running on a treadmill made of broken promises, where the finish line is just another cell. I mean, come on, we've basically invented a poverty recycling machine. 8. America spends $80 billion a year on prisons. Yeah, billion, with a B. That's more than the GDP of over 100 countries. Now, imagine tossing even a slice of that cash into schools, mental health clinics, or addiction programs. Could we cut crime? Maybe. But nah, let's just keep pouring cash into cages. After all, who needs solutions when you've got a booming incarceration industry? And somewhere, a taxpayer just looked at their paycheck stub and quietly screamed into the void. 9. Private prison companies have a business model so simple it's almost elegant. More prisoners, more profit, so they spend millions lobbying for mandatory minimums, 3-strike laws, and anything else that keeps cells full. Yep, corporations are helping write the rules of your justice system. It's like letting the fox design the henhouse security plan. But the fox also invoices you for overtime. And no, there's no punchline here. Just cold, hard cash and a lot of locked doors. 10. You'd think a phone call home from prison would be a small comfort, right? Well, every word is monitored and recorded. Family calls, lawyer calls, it's all on tape. And no, conversations with your attorney aren't always protected. Imagine trying to plan your legal defense when the people you're defending against are eavesdropping. It's like playing chess against someone who already read your playbook while charging you by the minute. Privacy? Oh please, that concept left the building at intake. 11. Over 80,000 people sit in solitary confinement every single day in the US, up to 23 hours locked in a cell, often with no window. The effects? Depression, psychosis, hallucinations. One guy in Louisiana, 43 years in solitary. 43 years. That's not punishment. That's erasing someone from the human experience. Honestly, it's less rehabilitation and more, let's see how long it takes to break a soul. And no, you don't come out of that saying, wow, I'm really ready to rejoin society. 12. Ready for the cherry on top? In some states, prisoners get billed for enhanced security. Yep, they actually have to pay extra for things like solitary confinement or more restrictive conditions. Imagine going to a hotel, getting shoved in the worst room, and then getting a bill marked luxury upgrade. I mean, what's next? Charging for the oxygen they breathe? Wait, better not give anyone ideas. 13. Imagine being sentenced to jail and ending up in a military tent under the Arizona sun, where temperatures hit 120 degrees. Welcome to Tent City, Maricopa County's personal experiment in, let's see how much heat a human can take before they melt. Even the guards refuse to work there during the day, which tells you everything. And yes, they shut it down in 2017, but not before it became a global symbol of how to mix punishment with heat stroke. Seriously, it was less justice system and more DIY desert survival camp. 14. In some states, kids as young as 13 are tried as adults and sent to adult prisons. Yep, we're talking middle schoolers locked up next to hardened criminals. Studies show they're 36 times more likely to be assaulted than adults. Because apparently someone thought tough love meant throw a child into a cage and hope for the best. How is this even a debate? It's like solving a paper cut with a chainsaw. 15. Prison food. Oh boy. In some states, the budget per inmate for meals is as low as 50 cents a day. That's right. You can't even buy a decent candy bar for that. Reports of spoiled meat, moldy bread, and maggots aren't rare. They're practically part of the menu. Could you eat that? Let's be real. Most of us would tap out halfway through lunch and start considering a hunger strike as a lifestyle choice. 16. Over 6 million Americans can't vote because of felony convictions, even after they've served their time. Think about that. You do your time, walk out the gate, but when election day comes, you're still erased. A democracy that silences millions of its own citizens? Yeah, that's not a democracy, and that's cosplay. And no, there's no vote again button hidden in the parole paperwork. 17. Picture sitting in jail for years. Not because you're guilty, but because you can't afford bail. Pre-trial detention in the US traps thousands of people who are still presumed innocent. So while the rich walk free waiting for court dates, the poor get a bonus prison sentence before the actual sentence. And people wonder why innocent until proven guilty feels like an inside joke. 18. Maricopa County again. The gift that keeps on giving. Sheriff Joe Arpaio made inmates wear pink underwear and socks, claiming it cut down on theft. But let's be honest, It was all about public humiliation. Nothing says rehabilitation like forcing someone into a Pepto-Bismol-colored nightmare. And really, if your criminal justice strategy includes a dress code, maybe it's time to rethink the priorities. 19. Some prisons offer time credits for good behavior or completing programs, letting inmates shave time off their sentences. It's basically a frequent flyer program for freedom. Take a class, behave, and boom. You're a little closer to parole. Honestly, it's the only rewards program where the prize is, please let me leave this place, and the competition is dead serious. 20. Over 200,000 people with mental illnesses are locked up in U.S. prisons, and many end up in solitary confinement. Yes, the very place that's basically a psychological torture chamber. Picture someone already struggling with schizophrenia or severe depression, thrown alone into a windowless box for 23 hours a day. Instead of treatment, they get isolation that shreds what's left of their sanity. How do we rehabilitate people by pushing them into a deeper mental abyss? Let that sink in. 21. Guess what? America technically banned debtors' prisons in 1833, but surprise, they're still alive and well in disguise. In some states, like Alabama, people have been jailed for owing as little as $50 in court fees. You heard that right, $50. So if you're poor and can't pay a fine, congrats, you get a cell upgrade. It's poverty criminalized, dressed up with a legal bow, and it's still happening in the so-called land of opportunity. Boom. 22. In some prisons, basic hygiene is a luxury. Inmates can be forced to wear the same clothes for weeks, even months, without a chance to wash them. Unsurprisingly, this leads to skin infections, disease outbreaks, and a smell that probably peels the paint off the walls. Seriously, how is denying someone clean underwear supposed to make them a better citizen? It's not rehabilitation, it's punishment by filth. And no, the laundry fairy isn't coming. 23. 1 in 4 women in U.S. prisons has experienced sexual abuse before they ever set foot behind bars. Think about that, 25%. The connection between trauma and incarceration runs deep, yet we lock these women up without addressing the very pain that often put them there. It's like slapping a Band-Aid on a broken bone and calling it healthcare. And we wonder why the cycle keeps repeating. 24. In some private prisons, inmates have to pay for their own food from the prison commissary, where prices are jacked up like it's a designer boutique. Imagine scraping together pennies from prison jobs just to afford ramen or peanut butter, while the company running the place pockets the profits. It's not just punishment, it's a business plan. Congrats, America. You turned dinner into a revenue stream. 25. Here's one that'll make your skin crawl. Some states have allowed the forced sterilization of inmates, and not just in some distant past. As recently as 2014, women in California prisons were sterilized without proper consent. That's right, we're still echoing one of history's ugliest chapters. When the state controls who gets to have children, it's not just injustice, it's eugenics with a clipboard. 26. Some prisons flat out ban books. Not just random titles, we're talking about works like The New Jim Crow and Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria, being labeled too controversial. Even educational books sometimes don't make the cut. Makes you wonder, what's more dangerous in prison? An inmate with a weapon or one with a library card? 27. Here's a plot twist most people don't know. Some U.S. prisons have contracts with the Department of Defense, meaning inmates work for military contractors, assembling equipment, packaging goods, or handling logistics. And no, they're not making anywhere near minimum wage. We're talking pennies per hour. Imagine contributing to national defense while making less than it costs to buy a stick of gum. It's like a bizarre mashup of patriotism and exploitation, where prisoners become the invisible workforce behind America's war machine. I mean, come on. When your country's defense relies on dirt-cheap prison labor, maybe it's time to rethink the supply chain. 28. More than 100,000 people in the U.S. are locked up for violating parole. And not for committing new crimes, but for things like missing a meeting, missing curfew, or failing a drug test. Picture someone trying to rebuild their life, only to land back in a cell over a technicality. It's like trying to climb out of a hole, and every time you make progress, someone kicks the ladder out from under you. Instead of offering support and second chances, the system just snaps people right back into the cycle. Congrats, America. We turned parole into a booby trap. 29. In some prisons, winter means shivering in unheated cells, bundled in thin clothes, while temperatures plunge toward freezing. Inmates have reported frostbite, numb extremities, and even hypothermia, all while locked in spaces with no escape from the cold. And no, handing out a blanket or two doesn't fix it. It's not punishment. It's survival mode. You'd think even the bare minimum of human dignity would include don't let people freeze to death. But apparently that's up for debate in some places. Boom. 30. Poor air quality in prisons isn't just an inconvenience. It's a full-on health crisis. With outdated ventilation systems, overcrowded cells, and zero fresh air, it's no wonder infectious diseases spread like wildfire inside. COVID-19, tuberculosis, fungal infections. You name it. Being incarcerated shouldn't come with a bonus round of respiratory failure. But here we are. Imagine trying to sleep, breathe, or even exist when the air around you feels like a moldy basement. And somehow, people still call this correctional living. 31. You'd think the people running prisons would be the last ones smuggling in contraband, but nope. Prison guards have been caught sneaking in everything from cell phones to drugs to, in one jaw-dropping case, $16,000 worth of goods, all while one Maryland guard had a romantic relationship with an inmate. It's corruption so baked into the system it's practically an institution of its own. When the people tasked with maintaining order are cashing in on chaos, how do you even begin to talk about reform? Seriously, who's guarding the guards? 32. The US locks up more women than any other country on the planet. Over 200,000 women, many for non-violent offenses. And here's the ripple effect. Most of these women are primary caregivers, which means thousands of kids are left behind, often in foster care or with relatives. We talk a lot about family values, but somehow we built a system that shatters families with assembly line efficiency. What happens to those kids? Well, nobody seems too eager to answer that part. 33. Nearly half of all U.S. prisoners are held in private prisons, run by corporations like GEO Group and CoreCivic. Their goal isn't rehabilitation, it's profit. The more people behind bars, the better the shareholders do. So yeah, the prison industrial complex isn't some wild conspiracy theory. It's a business model. When cages become cash cows, you can bet rehabilitation gets pushed to the bottom of the budget. And no, there's no frequent flyer program for getting out early. 34. Welcome to pay-to-play prison life, where if you have cash, you can buy privileges like extra phone time, better food, or even decent clothes. Inmates with money can upgrade their lives behind bars, while everyone else is left scraping by in survival mode. It's like turning prison into a dystopian hotel where the VIP lounge is reserved for the few who can afford it. Is this justice? Or just capitalism running wild in a cage? You tell me. 35. Here's a dignity gut punch for you. In some prisons, inmates have to buy their own toilet paper. Yep, you run out, you wait, until you can afford more. And if you don't have family or friends sending money, well, let's just say rationing takes on a whole new meaning. Picture living in a place where wiping becomes a luxury item. It's not just uncomfortable, it's humiliating, unsanitary, and one more reminder that in prison, even the basics are up for sale. Congrats, America. We've turned toilet paper into a symbol of inequality. 36. Believe it or not, prison gardens are a thing. And no, it's not just about free landscaping. Inmates tend vegetables, flowers, sometimes even beehives, learning patience, responsibility, and teamwork in the process. For many, it's the only chance they get to touch dirt, feel sunlight, and grow something besides frustration. And hey, in a place designed to crush the spirit, even a row of tomatoes can feel like a small rebellion against the concrete. Sometimes the most radical act in prison is keeping something alive. 37. Here's the kicker. While some prisons offer education or job training, most inmates get nothing. No classes, no skills, no shot at a future. We expect people to turn their lives around, then give them absolutely zero tools to do it. It's like handing someone a car with no wheels and screaming, "Drive better." Education reduces recidivism, improves lives, and strengthens communities, yet we treat it like an optional upgrade. Seriously, how do we expect change without offering even a roadmap? 38. The US holds about 20% of the world's prison population, while making up just 4% of the global population. Nearly 2 million people behind bars. Let that number hit you. Land of the free? More like land of the locked up. When you start topping the global charts for incarceration, maybe it's time to pause and ask, are we building a safer society or just building more cages? Boom. 39. Former prisoners often can't access public housing, even after they've served their time. So picture this. You get out, you're ready to start over, and you're immediately homeless. We say, pay your debt to society, but apparently the bill keeps coming. How do we expect people to succeed when we pull the safety net right out from under them? It's like telling someone to swim after chaining a rock to their ankle. 40. Many prison cells are smaller than a parking space. No joke. Some measure barely 6 by 8 feet, earning the nickname sleeping closets. Now imagine spending years in one. You can stretch out on your bunk or stand awkwardly. And that's about it. Forget personal space. You're lucky to have breathing room. It's not just confinement, it's compression, designed to squeeze the humanity right out of people. And you thought your apartment was small? 41. Rats. Not as a figure of speech. Literal rats. Some prisoners live in cells so filthy and infested that vermin are their unofficial cellmates. We're talking about creatures gnawing on food, crawling across beds, spreading disease. Hygiene? Forget it. Sleep? Good luck with a rat running over your foot. Imagine trying to survive in a place where you're not just fighting the system, but the wildlife. And no, pest control isn't exactly high on the budget. 42. Over 40% of federal inmates are locked up for drug-related offenses, and we're not talking about drug lords or kingpins here. A huge chunk are low-level, non-violent offenders, often busted for simple possession or small-time distribution. Some are serving decades behind bars thanks to tough-on-crime policies from the old war on drugs days, which, let's be honest, aged about as well as a Blockbuster membership card. And here's the kicker. Some inmates are still doing time for marijuana, a substance now perfectly legal in multiple states where people are literally opening cannabis boutiques. Boom. 43. Yep, prison weddings are a thing. Couples can actually get married while one partner is serving time, complete with tiny ceremonies inside the facility. Some prisons even allow brief private visits afterward, emphasis on brief. It's part romance, part logistical nightmare, but hey, love finds a way, even through reinforced steel doors and security checkpoints. Just picture saying I do, with guards watching and surveillance cameras rolling. I mean, who needs a destination wedding when you've got a venue with bars? 44. Inside many prisons, gangs control the real economy. We're talking smuggling, gambling, protection rackets, you name it. If you refuse to play along, expect brutal consequences. It's not just about survival, it's about navigating a shadow system where alliances can be the difference between safety and constant danger. Imagine living every day knowing that a wrong look or word can cost you your health, or worse. And we think office politics are rough. 45. Here's a chilling fact. In some states, prisoners are used as test subjects for pharmaceutical trials. Yep, experimental drugs on vulnerable populations, all in exchange for tiny cash incentives or a shot at reducing their sentence. Sure, informed consent is technically required, but let's not pretend this power imbalance doesn't raise massive ethical red flags. It's the kind of setup that sounds like the plot of a dystopian novel, except it's real life right now. 46. Black Americans serve prison sentences that are, on average, 19% longer than those given to white Americans for the same crimes. This isn't just a statistic. It's a flashing neon sign pointing straight at systemic racism in the justice system. Think about it. Two people commit the same offense, but one faces nearly a fifth more time behind bars just because of skin color. This isn't broken justice. This is a justice system working exactly as it was rigged to. 47. Many prisons are built in rural areas under the promise of boosting local economies. And sure, they create jobs, but they also create problems. Oversight drops, access for families becomes a nightmare, and human rights watchdogs struggle to monitor what's happening behind those remote fences. It's like putting the most controversial, high-stakes industry out of sight and hoping nobody asks questions. Economic boost? Maybe. Moral cost? Sky high. 48. Officially, corporal punishment is banned in U.S. prisons. Unofficially, not so much. Reports of physical abuse by guards still pop up. From excessive force to unsanctioned punishment methods. It's a world where discipline can blur into brutality, and accountability is often a whispered rumor rather than a real threat. Imagine knowing that the people tasked with protecting you might also be the ones who break you. Let that sink in. 49. In some private prisons, inmates are actually charged fees for basic services. And yes, that includes using the bathroom. Picture having to pay to pee while serving time, knowing the company running the place is pocketing the profits. It's not just absurd, it's exploitation dialed up to cartoon villain levels. When even bodily functions have a price tag, you have to wonder, is there anything left that can't be turned into a revenue stream? Unreal, right? America's prison system isn't just flawed, it's a factory of chaos, cruelty, and cold-blooded profit. So tell me, which fact punched you in the gut? Hit the comments, fight it out, share your outrage. We're reading everything. And if you thought this was wild, stick around. Subscribe now, because next time we're diving into a world that makes this one look tame. You've been warned.